another episode of Chatty Broads with Becca and Jess.
Do you see the look of severe just disappointment in my face? Jason?
I'm so
We were rooting for you.
happy.
We were all rooting.
First of all, why am I wearing a hat indoors? Because it's
Share with us.
that hot. So when I go outside, I need to even when I just like go to the bathroom outside of the studio, I need to make sure I'm shaded at all times.
Yeah, straight up apologies, broads, for any and all air conditioning that has been in the past few episodes and or that will turn on in this episode, because we once again have hit that heat wave in California.
Like, we're fine here. Did you know where Walnut Creek is?
Yes.
It's outside of San Francisco. Mm-hmm. It's 120 there. It was 120 there yesterday.
I can't even hear it. I can't even hear it.
It hasn't even been that hot here yet.
Can't even hear it. I was in the
Everywhere's
Palm Springs with my
now.
mom. I was in Palm Springs with my mom this past weekend, and it was like 1:15.
Right.
But that's like kind
typical.
of Palm Springs. But it was humid. It wasn't a dry heat.
It has been really humid in Long Beach, and
Yes,
that has been difficult.
Mm-hmm. You know what? What it's led to is just Ember taking over our bedroom.
Oh, really?
Because she doesn't have AC in her room,
Yeah.
and so it's just boiling. And so Evan and I are sleeping on the couch, and she's taking the king bed. So we have been,
oh my God, that's hilarious.
Removed.
Wow.
Sleeping on the couch for the sake of our precious one.
Time to get her a window unit.
We have one, but it's just not doing the job. It's just so hot. Or it's not a window unit, it's something similar to that. But that is how hot it is getting in her room, that not even that can really do much.
We only have 2 window units in our house total. I just shut all the blinds today, and I was like, well, we're going to live in a cave. So
You got to do what you got to do.
Anyway, enough about that. Who cares? What's really important is that these episodes from this week, I was not even mad that I had to watch 4 hours. I was not even mad.
Becca, I felt the exact same way. At first I was like, dude, 2
Really?
in the same week, it's just going to be too much info. After I watched part 1,
Couldn't wait.
I was itching.
We got home like at, 9 on Monday, immediately flipped it on. We stayed up until like 11:30 watching it, and I wasn't mad about it.
No.
It was...
And then the following day, I was literally like
It was
waiting.
7:35, and I was like...
watching the clock. I was like, when is it? I'm waiting for 8 p.m. I'm waiting for it to come on.
I never do that. And like, I was
really
loving.
And a few of the things didn't surprise me, but it was still...
No, dude, so much... Well, I mean, yeah.
That's the thing. There were a few things that didn't surprise me, but there were a few
The amount
moments
of things that I was floored by.
I couldn't even believe it. So I say to you, Jesse Palmer, what the fuck with the men tell all this is going to change everybody's lives? This was the episode that shook me to the ground.
Lost my train of thought, but I was just going to say, don't know what I was going to say, but the episode was phenomenal.
Absolutely phenomenal.
I will say it now because I always say it like 3 or 4 episodes in. I'm like, I like this season, and later on I'm like, I hate it. I personally loved this season. I personally loved the 2 Bachelorettes. I really do feel like, of course we got to know people not as much, but I feel like it's double the drama. And also, I feel like I actually do know these guys in the top like 6 or 7 left are pretty well.
I do feel like in the last, honestly, kind of over these 2 episodes too, you really got to know the men quite a bit more. And then the hometowns, I feel like, it was, even though they were shorter, I feel like we got good nuggets.
Yeah.
And it wasn't extended. And so I know a lot of people are hating the double Bachelorettes. And of course, not a fan of the whole, like, let's compare both of them and whatever. But I do like how quickly it moves. Because sometimes this show can really be slow.
And also the comparison thing ended like, I don't know, probably like 4 or 5 episodes in. Because this second half of the season, it's like you're not really like, there's no real, the interactions, I guess, between them in terms of the men, I'm loving it.
When they separated, then it feels like you're watching 2 Bachelorettes at once, like an actual double season versus them doing it together. That's when it was.
Well, it's like you start imagining, though. I mean, Gabby's on her own would be pretty dramatic, I have to say. But it's like, if it was just Rachel's season, there would be, some drama. Mm-hmm. and it looks like there's going to be some drama.
It looks like Rachel has some serious drama.
But they both be typical seasons. I feel like with the two combined, it's like I'm like, whoa, left and right, so much happening, and it is action packed, and I am not complaining. I love it. Should we talk about the preview?
Yeah, let's talk about the preview before we dive into this, because I am on the floor. So next week we have part one.
Yeah.
Next week we have part one of a live finale. And then the following week we have part two of a live finale.
Which, by the way, I know it's going to get crazy.
It's going to get crazy. And I am wondering if they're going to set it up where like finale part one is like Gabby or Rachel. Finale part two is Gabby, Rachel. Or if it's going to be a combined thing.
I have no idea there could not be worse timing. I have no idea what I'm going to do next week, and I'm going to have to figure it out, but it's going to be.
Oh my gosh, yes. Well, luckily you'll be around for part two of the finale.
At least I just have to make something work for next week, though, because this is like,
it's going to be.
At the very least, if I have to just watch it and call in on the phone for like 15 minutes as you're recapping with someone else and be like, rapid fire thoughts. Like, I've got to make something work because this is crazy.
I have a feeling, yes, absolutely. But I also have a feeling deep in my bones that finale part two is going to be where it's at.
So you think that Gabby is you were telling me before we started recording, you think Gabby's part one?
I was hearing like theories thrown around that maybe Gabby will be part one and Rachel will be part two, like not confirmed by any means, but just like the idea that potentially.
That makes sense that they're going to split them up. It would be too.
Yeah. But who knows? Because honestly, the theories that have been thrown out, the theories that have been thrown around many times throughout the season so far, I feel like a lot have been wrong.
Do you think
Gabby have been very wrong?
Ends single?
I mean, it sure doesn't look great.
Okay, so it looks like in the preview that Eric's actually not going to be ready. I mean, obviously, it looks like he's going to say he's not ready for the engagement. It looks like her family says, oh. No, wait, was that Rachel's family?
That was Rachel's family.
It was Rachel's family that said,
yes. But then we see Eric telling Gabby,
right.
I actually don't know about walking away as an engagement. Can't we just be like dating?
And then she's like, bawling. What's the point? Yes, sobbing. So
and that's going to happen. Now I have this happen times 3.
So that's going to happen. Rachel, what?
Now the Rachel piece.
Some guy, it looks like her family is being a whistleblower, being like, someone said that they're not ready to get down on one knee. It also looks like Zach's still there.
It looks like Zach's still there, unless that was a clip from like a past episode or a past scene that they didn't show us to try to mess with us. But
unless she brings Zach back.
Potentially. But oh my God. We see clips of Tino.
I know.
Panicking
in a random house.
But
that could also be the house where she's meeting her family. He could be meeting her family at that house. It could definitely be that when Tina's freaking out at that house.
I didn't think about the family meeting.
Yeah, because they're going to meet her family, and it could be at a place. So what could happen is Tino could say he's not getting down on one knee. That wouldn't surprise me. Family's like, hello, he said he's not ready. Did you know that? And then she's like, what the fuck? Might go and confront him there at the house. That might turn into a whole thing.
Okay.
Be. That could also be a villa they're staying at.
Maybe a Maddie Sweetnam situation. The family hates Tino. And they love Aven or Zach, which I'm assuming it's Aven after what's going down with Zach post this.
Might not. This really could be a twist. She could just like send Aven home.
I would be really shocked if she sent Aven home because she
But maybe that
declared
conversation
her love
with Zach. No, but okay, so then what we also see in the preview is her being like, how dare you someone question my character at the rose ceremony, which I feel like which is directed at Zach, right?
It has to be Aven, right? Because there's also the scene of Aven talking to her and she's like, stop yelling at me.
Oh, right. Oh my God, dude.
Oh my God and a half.
Yeah, I think you're right though that Rachel's finale will be wild.
Yes, I don't doubt that Gabby's is going to be dramatic because who knows if they stay together, if they break up, if she leaves fully single, if maybe she leaves single and they've united since, something like that.
Sure.
But Rachel's looks like it's going to be a doozy. Rachel's looks like it's going to be a doozy and a half.
I couldn't ask for more out of a reality television show at this point. It's serving. So, okay, how do we do this? How do you want to get into this?
Should we start with Rachel? Should we just go through Rachel? Let's go through Rachel's.
Yeah, let's do that. Okay.
Let's go through Rachel's.
Okay, so first of all, when the ladies start talking in the very beginning, Rachel, in contrast with all the other guys, it really stood out to me how she said, like, I don't think I'm there with Zach. She said that at the top of the first episode.
Yes, she did say that at the top. And I immediately wrote in my notes, I was quite shocked.
I know, me too.
Because I thought Zach was a lock for top 2. And it was either going to be Aven sent home because she didn't have as much of a connection, or Tino sent home because of the family drama stuff. And some of his recent behavior that she was going to be like, I'm over it. But Zach was like, there's no way he's not in the top 2.
Absolutely.
So as soon as she said she's not getting there with him, because Zach already told her that he's in love with her.
I know. And it just seems like she's been right on the same plane the whole time. No pun intended.
From what we have seen, it looks like she has been like so there with Zach.
Well, yeah, she said that off the top, and then her first date is with Aven.
What if they filmed that part after?
Oh my God, her going back and saying that and being like, I don't think I'm there with Zach. No. I think she knew. Ugh, man, I have a lot of feelings about the stuff with Zach because we'll get there.
Okay.
So, Aven, overall it went great.
I felt like of all the dates, Aven's was very obviously the smoothest, and they were congenial the whole time, having fun. Overnight looked like it went really well.
Yeah. I will say during the day portion, I was really picking up Aven seems like a really like calm guy, you know, and like really chill. But I did notice some things like when they were doing the sunscreen application, he was really kind of like rushing through it. He was really kind of like, he seemed, Gray and I were both like, okay, he seems really nervous. He's like rushing through their kisses.'s kind of stiff.
So he seemed nervous.
He's rushing through the sunscreen app. You know, she's like, Rachel's very sensual, you know, so she's like, let's do sunscreen, you know, and he was just kind of like, all right, getting out all the coverage, you know, and I was noticing that his energy really shifted when she said she was falling in love with him. Before that, even during the dinner, there was an energetic disconnect happening that I was picking up on, where I was like, they're talking, but this is feeling like very rushed, very surface. In my observation, the minute she said, I need to tell you that I'm falling in love with you too, or like whatever. He
definitely took a deep breath.
And then I just watched from there on, his body was more relaxed. The kissing was more slow and passionate. I felt like there was a really big shift in his energy once she shared how she felt about him.
Yeah, I mean, Aven, that totally lines up. That completely makes sense. You know, I felt like Aven just seems like a catch and a half.
Yeah, he's such a nice guy.
Such a lovely guy.
And she's really into him.
And when they were on their one-on-one, when they were in the night portion in the fantasy suite, she woke up very happy.
Oh, yeah. She said, I mean, she was giggling and saying he is the whole package. The whole package.
The whole package. Yes. So clearly it went well.
Yeah.
I was laughing, though, because previously, first of all, the fantasy suites, same room every single time. It was driving me insane. Now, granted, maybe one was on one corner and it was like a left side of the hotel versus the right side, but it was the same layout of the room every single time. I think maybe the first time we've ever seen that.
Yeah, generally they have... What? That's so weird.
It was stressing me out because I'm like, imagine just kind of doing the same room every night with someone. And then at one point when Rachel walked in with Zach, and that's her third date, she was like, oh my God, look at this room. It's amazing. I'm like, girl, you've seen this room. This is times 3.
You've seen every part of this room.
Yes.
From all angles, I'm sure.
But
oh my God.
I thought it was so funny because there was a scene with Gabby and Eric before, and where both of their
all
shoes...
6 states were the same room.
Yes, all of them. Again, maybe like different parts of the hotel, but it was the same exact layout.
That's unreal.
Unbelievable. But the first date with Gabby and Eric, we see both of their shoes on the floor in the scene. And then with Rachel and Aven, we only seen Rachel's shoes on the floor.
Yes,
and I started to think about like how funny would it be you have your first night with someone and they've got a thing where they're like, I gotta keep my shoes on. Like, how do you handle that? I'm like, is that kind of what happened with Zach? There was a moment where he was just like, I'm gonna have to keep my shoes on during this. And she's like, well, this is gonna get a little challenging for me.
Oh my goodness.
But no, Aven says they slept for like 20 minutes.
Yeah, I mean, I think things went well with that. And that's pretty much is what it is. I mean, I wasn't sure. I thought Aven might go home after this. Like you said, like I thought she just might have a stronger connection with other guys. But I'm now like, oh my God, could he take things all the way? Like what?
I mean, potentially if Tino, with this preview.
She might end up honestly, she might end up single at the end of this.
Very true. But yeah, again, the preview, you see the Tino drama and then you see Aven drama with her too. It might be full single Rachel at the end of this. Holy smokes. Well, throughout Aven's date, we see clips. She
ended up with Zach. She might like reconnect with Zach after one of the guys is broken up.
I feel like that ship has sailed. Yeah. He was not happy. But so throughout this.
Oh, meanwhile, Tino is being a baby back bitch, staring out the window in bed.
Also dripping sweat the entire time. Like he is stressed. Every week, I just get more red flags.
Oh, dude, yeah.
It's just week after week. And listen, and we'll get to Eric, but the commentary with Tino, it was very focused on. He kept saying things like he certainly doesn't need to sleep with anyone else, and it was very much like sex oriented.
Yeah.
Which I understand it's the fantasy suites.
Sure.
But he was just like, I don't even understand why she would need
Granted,
anything.
Then it didn't seem like he really then brought that up to her very much.
No.
So that kind of...
Well, but also, you know what we didn't see?
Huh?
Tino and Rachel wake up in the morning.
Yeah. No,
that was the one person that they did not include.
They do that every now and then, though, remember?
It makes me mad.
I know. You want to see the dynamic in the morning.
I'm like, what happened? Did it go really well? I mean, clearly when we saw him going to the rose ceremony, he was like, perfect, phenomenal. Yeah, Couldn't have gone better.
But
Tino
that's also that his parents adored her. So, classic.
So that's what I'm saying. We don't really know how it went.
Yeah, I mean, we get that scene where he's just like naked in bed staring out the window, like with his blankets. That was so weird of him in the hotel room. And then when we're just seeing all these montages of him just in utter misery. And then the minute they start talking, she's like, how have you been? He's like, really good. I'm
like, Tino. And then when Aven and Rachel are on the date and the fireworks explode, I'm like, the producers are doing that just for Tino.
Oh,
so Tino's
definitely.
just shaking.
Oh, definitely.
Because I think he was the only one that got fireworks, just the waiting for Tino's date.
Yeah, it really bugged me too how like in Tino's date, how she, he goes and talks to in his ITM and says, she seems nervous, like maybe it's about my family, whatever. But then he doesn't like bring it up to her until she brings it up. I'm like, okay, you're just avoiding it. So that's annoying. And then he's like, I can make her feel as comfortable as she always is around me. I'm like, oh my God, shut up.
There were a lot of moments like this where I felt like he was totally tiptoeing.
Yeah.
And then when she would bring it up, what I didn't like, again, I know I'm skipping ahead, is that when she then, confronted him about the family situation, that's all of a sudden when he tells her he's in love with her. Just like how definitely. After the family situation, he was like, I'm falling in love with you. It's every time there's a confrontation, that's when he declares his love. And that doesn't feel great to me. Yeah. It's like a panic move to secure. Not that I don't think that he's not falling in love with her, is in love with her. I don't doubt that.
Yeah.
But I'm also like, okay, maturity-wise, we need to receive, process. Like, it feels like those I love yous are Band-Aids.
He probably does have some trauma with his family, too. It's like...
Well, what was interesting about their night portion conversation is we find out, which we didn't know, that Rachel says... obviously from many conversations with you, I know how important and involved your family is.
Yeah.
We'd thrown around, maybe he's not that close and he's like in and out. So
Granted,
he
lives
care.
In Playa del Rey and his family lives...
Santa Clarita.
Do they really? Never mind then.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, they're pretty close then.
But even if they don't live close.
Yeah.
She was saying that he'd communicated with her how much his family means to him.
Yeah.
And so this is not this is not someone who has a distant relationship with their family or like doesn't value their family's opinion. So obviously it's really important.
Yeah.
What his family
It was funny too how she was then kind of pressing about it, and he's like, he definitely was like, well, they will come around eventually. And I'm like, oh my God, I'm hearing like a couple years they'll finally take you guys seriously.
Yeah, one day, like after our second child, then they'll come around. You're like, okay,
it wasn't promising, even the way even with Tino with his tendency to like over exaggerate and put on rose colored glasses. Even he was like, well, eventually with time, I think they'll accept us. I'm like,
right. And you're
God.
like, well, I mean, that also isn't really answering the question. You know what I mean? That's still kind of an avoidant.
Well, and it is in a roundabout way. And essentially, they're probably not going to like our situation for quite a while. Like you said, until our second child or something
and, well,
like that.
And also, Rachel gave him some news where she said, what really threw me was when your dad said, like, well, it's not like I'm going to disown him, but I'll never accept it.
Yeah.
And he was like, whoa, really? It was like, oh shit, I didn't know it got that bad. The word disown got thrown around.
I think he also said that in his Facebook post, though. His dad did. He's like,
about the disowning?
Yeah, he said, like, if Tino cries, we're going to disown him or something like that.
I guess it's a typical go-to for his father.
For Tino's dad.
Oh,
but
no.
Regardless, seemed like everything went well enough. Actually, like, pretty much without a hitch aside from that.
I mean, obviously, throughout the date, like he was saying, Rachel was very on edge and nervous and wanting to share, but he wasn't pressing it.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then once they had that conversation, after he was legitimately wiping the sweat off of his face with a towel, with a napkin, a cloth napkin was really getting soaked, then it seemed like the clear vibe I was getting is if he really gave her any answer that she could deal with, she was going to be fine.
Yeah.
She just wanted him to kind of put it to bed. Because the second then he said, I love you, she was like, I am so in love with you.
No, she said, I love you too.
Yes.
She said, no, they said, and I can't remember, Jess, I get confused. Is I love you bigger than I'm in love with you? I don't know.
So it's I'm falling for you.
No, I'm falling for you.
I'm falling in love with you. I'm in love with you.
No, but where does I love you fall?
That's the top.
That is the top. Okay.
That's the top.
Sometimes I feel like people put in love above I love you.
Oh, I would never.
No, I wouldn't either. But on the show, I've seen people progress from I love you to I'm in love with you.
I definitely feel like I love you is the highest because
I agree.
That's then after the I'm in love with you declaration, and we're now casually telling each other that I'm in love with you or I love you. Excuse me. Yes.
I have seen on the show, I fully agree with you. I feel like I have seen on the show where people say I'm in love after I love you.
What in the what? That is wild to me. I love you definitely feels intense. You know what's interesting?
Agree.
I've never thought about that before.
Yeah.
I love you feels way, way more intimate.
I love you is like a permanent declaration. Do you know what I mean? Like, I feel like I'm in love with you is very like, that seems to me a little up and down, a little more up and down, but like, I love you is like,
like we're in this together forever, baby.
Right. Yeah. Like, if you're like in a fight or something and someone says like, I'm in love with you, it's kind of a little weird. But if someone's like, I love you,
it's
then
intimate.
You're like, okay,
very intimate.
That means you've got my back for better or worse, in sickness and in health.
That's some vow shit, honey.
So she was like, I love you too. And I was like,
and then they were saying it when they were making out up against that wall.
If it's going to be anyone, it's going to be him, I feel like. She just barely told Aven that she's falling in love with him.
Yes. No, it definitely seems like Tino is the one, unless the family says absolutely not.
No. Or the family says, he just told us he's not going to propose to you.
Right.
Which is what seems like it happens.
Unless that's Aven. And then that's the moment where they're sitting down.
Like, stop yelling at me.
Because remember, I bet it's Aven.
Okay.
Because Aven, she specifically asked him on the boat.
Yeah.
Or was it at dinner on the boat? Anywho, apologies. But she said, are you ready for an engagement after this? And he paused, but then he said, yeah, absolutely. Like,
and then she's like, you're saying one thing. And then, I guess she hasn't really had that conversation with Tino. Has she?
I think Tino has declared to her for the past 5 weeks straight that he would literally marry her tomorrow. The man has gone no hold bars and is just saying everything and like, I am ready to wed you the second you say I can. That's more the energy that I'm getting from Tino. I don't feel like she feels like
and I believe it because he's dumb and impulsive.
So I bet that moment with Rachel's family is with
right.
Aven.
I kind of assumed it was Tino, but now that you're saying it, I think you're right. I think it is Aven.
But there's some clear drama going on with Tino. So the question is that after or is that during?
I don't know.
Okay, you want to take
what if his family what if Tino's family shows up? What if his dad or someone shows up?
Oh my God.
That would be good.
Yes. Yes.
I feel like that's not going to happen, but I could see that happening.
I could see what's his face? What's his dad's name again? Joe Franco. I could see Joe Franco just busting down the door and being like, listen here, kid. We're taking you and your ass home, okay? We're getting on the next plane out of here and we're gone.
Yeah. I don't think that's going to happen, but I could see it.
What if Tino gets a call?
Yeah, a call. That just popped in my head too. A call.
Tino gets a call and his family's like, for real? Like, if you really do this,
don't you think
we won't speak to you?
Don't you think we would see a clip though of him being like on the phone? I feel like if someone was going to show up, we were going to see like a dramatic knock on the door or a call.
Maybe, but we see him walking out of some house sobbing, saying like, let me out of here. Like he's stuck in the Matrix.
He certainly is.
Yes, you are, Tino.
Oh my goodness. Okay, yeah, let's take a pause.
Take a quick pause. Oh man, it's just so much. I'm just so elevated.
Ugh.
Okay, broads. I consider myself a pretty, chill person, but one thing I'm not chill about is not getting sick, because when I get sick, I get sick. Okay. And honestly, who has the time for that? So I've spent the longest time trying every immune support supplement and product known to mankind. I've gone through so many. Basically, broads, you're in luck, because one of my favorites that I absolutely swear by is also one of our sponsors, and that's Beekeepers Naturals Propolis Immune Support Throat Spray. I've been using this for a long time.
Favorite thing about it, it's just a little spray bottle. You can throw it in your purse. You can throw it in your bag. All you need to do is like 4 little sprays. Mm-hmm. Propolis is incredible. If you Google it, there's so many different benefits. Also, the kids love taking it. I have all this other nasty herbal immune stuff that they hate, but I'm like, they're like, oh, like
Ember lets
spray that tastes like honey.
Yep.
I'm down. Also, Beekeepers Naturals, their Propolis Immune Support Spray, it is certified clean. It's made without any artificial colors, preservatives, fillers, alcohol, gluten, sugars, or GMOs.
Like I said, I try not getting sick very seriously, and this stuff really does the trick. I used to pretty much always get sick after traveling. It was just like always going to happen without fail. 2 days after a trip, I'd come down with something horrible. Now I'm just taking religiously my Propolis immune spray, like I said, for the past year or two, leading up to, during, and after trips. And I feel like I'm staying healthy this time, okay? It's my wellness secret weapon. And like you were saying too, Ember loves it. And I'm also not a big pill person, so I like the spray.
Yeah. Today, Beekeepers Naturals is offering you an exclusive offer. Also, you can go to beekeepersnaturals.com/chatty or enter code chatty. You're going to get 25% off your first order, a quarter off of your order in total. That's Beekeepers, BEEKEEPERS, naturals.com/chatty or enter code chatty. Beekeepers Naturals products, they're also available in Target, Whole Foods, CVS, Walgreens, whole bunch of places. But go online and use code chatty and you're going to get that 25% off. Start feeling better every day today.
So are you looking to mix things up in the kitchen this fall but aren't quite sure where to start? Oh, and you also don't want to spend a small fortune every time you cook a meal? And you want to cook meals that are on the healthier side? Well, I know that might seem like you're asking for a lot, but it's actually totally doable. All you need is a little help from Green Chef, the meal kit company that makes eating well super easy. Whatever lifestyle you're into, Green Chef has a meal plan to go with it. Green Chef offers everything from vegan to gluten-free and so many more.
Yep. And it's really simple to get started. All you have to do is choose what looks good to you. They have they have 24 weekly recipes. And after you pick what you want, your Green Chef kit will arrive at your door. It has pre-portioned, partially prepared foods and ingredients and recipe cards for the meals you've chosen. And they've got recipes like pecan crusted salmon with creamy kale and roasted carrots. Delicious. Or they've got fancy stuff. Beef tenderloin with cherry balsamic sauce. Oh, restaurant quality, you guys. And right from your own kitchen, too.
We love a meal kit delivery service here at Chatty Broads. In fact, you may have also heard us talk about another one we love, HelloFresh. Just to clarify for you all, HelloFresh actually owns Green Chef. So if you've used HelloFresh before, using Green Chef is a great way to mix things up. We love them both so much.
Yep. Go to greenchef.com/chatty135 and use code chatty135 to get $135 off across 5 boxes. And your first box ships free. Again, that's greenchef.com/chatty135 and use code chatty135 to get $135 off across 5 boxes. And your first box is going to ship for free.
All right. So, yeah, Tino, I mean, she was just waiting for that.
She was.
She, by the way, one of my most favorite things about this show is when leads say, or contestants say, I've been waiting for this for so long. And she was saying that she's been waiting for his declaration of love for so long. And I'm like, you mean like a couple weeks?
Yeah.
After like 3 dates together.
Yeah. Granted, was he the first rose?
Yeah.
He was the first impression rose.
First impression rose. He was also, when we did our Chatty Broads top 4, he was your pick.
Dude.
Aven was
Eric.
Grayston's. Eric was Evan's, and mine was Nate. And I think if Nate wouldn't have his daughter,
if he had just omitted that fact, like his previous girlfriend, things would have gone swimmingly.
then I think Nate probably would have gone farther.
Oh my God.
Because Gabby really liked Nate.
This is actually crazy. I feel
really good about it.
I don't know. Do you know even any spoilers at all for this season?
The spoiler that I did know was that Johnny. Well, I found out last week that Johnny was going to Paradise.
Oh, yeah. I mean, that's not even... And yeah, I mean, I guess if you knew at the beginning. But who thought that Johnny was going to be at the end anyway, you know?
Oh, yeah. No, and I didn't know that until, maybe like a week ago.
Yeah.
That he was going to Paradise. So I was like, okay, I didn't think that Johnny was going to be... Listen, the spoiler...
I haven't known a single spoiler.
The spoiler accounts, I talked about this 2 seasons ago. The spoiler accounts have gotten so awesome
Trigger warnings.
and diligent about putting like 15 warnings ahead of time. So it's actually very easy to avoid a spoiler now versus back. I feel like when we first started this, it was so hard. I couldn't even go on and try to find inside scoop that wasn't a spoiler. Yeah. So thank you to all the Bachelor accounts out there with all the spoiler warnings. Yeah. We appreciate it.
But yeah, I haven't known. I don't know anything about the season. I think I literally unfollowed anything Bachelor related, but also like sometimes you'll see stuff on your Explore page and stuff like that. Like things in the past for me have just like kind of accidentally popped up out of nowhere in like random comment sections, stuff like that.
That's why you have to stay out of the comment section if you're trying to be spoiler free during a Bachelorette season.
I haven't gotten anything though, like not anything close. So
no one sent me any spoilers, which I'm so grateful for.
Oh yeah, I guess that's happened in the past too. Mm-hmm. But I can't believe that. My point being, I can't believe that we all chose people that are basically, I mean, everyone's still here. We got 3 out of 4 fantasy suites.
I feel really good about us.
That's wild. Granted, we all really picked like the hottest guys on the roster, but there is that.
The absolute stunners.
Still, we really called it this year. Okay, so now let's move on, I guess, to Zach.
Okay. Let's talk about Zach.
Yeah. Well, what was really cracking me up is we're seeing all this drama with Gabby. What really cracked me up is that we cut to Rachel and she's just like, I had the most perfect week and like 3 incredible guys. And I was just laughing my ass off because Gabby's just been through hell and back this week. And then Rachel, meanwhile, it's like, we're in Mexico with like my favorite men. And she's just like living La Vida Loca over there, which was sending me.
And tell me what your thoughts on this were. But I felt like there was an energy shift in Rachel this week after hometowns.
In general?
Yeah, I felt like there was, because there were so many moments where she was feeling so discouraged that all of a sudden she went into this week. And I know she was saying that this week is a trigger for her because of Clayton. Yeah. Which was brought up on all 3 dates. Yeah. By the way. Yeah. And I want to talk about that later. Yeah. It wasn't talked about on Gabby's. Yeah. Maybe it was, and we just didn't see it. But
I think Rachel was. I mean, obviously they both had a hard time. I think Rachel was devastated by that shit on Clayton's season. Yeah.
Well, I know she was saying this week is a trigger for her, but I got her energetic vibe that she came in this week very confident.
Yeah, I also do think, though, I saw clips of her on Clayton season, like literally walking past the living room and Gray talking about her. I do think that when Rachel, and she's probably had to as a survival tactic, just like in her field and all this stuff, facing all that opposition, I do feel like Rachel gets, fake is a strong and negative word, but I do think that Rachel puts on a serious, like, I'm this pretty, flirty, energetic girl facade when she's facing difficult things.
Interesting. Okay.
Because, like, yeah, I noticed that during Clayton season where she'll just be like, she's kind of like becomes PTA Barbie mom where she's like, and
maybe that's what I was feeling then, because I'm like, there was something shifted this week.
I think it's a defense mechanism for her. I think she turns into like, you know, like Little Miss Perfect, because that's probably what she's had to do, like, in order to, especially like in her male dominated field and all that. For sure. Some people's defense tactic to be like, you know, like paste that smile on. And I kind of felt like that's what was happening this week, particularly when I was seeing it on Zach's date, because.
Yes. Well, Zach had the opinion that she was being inauthentic.
Well, let's get to that, because the beginning, like, I was like, wow, this date is going great. They have their tequila and giggles and all of their little fun moments with that. But then I felt like it was going great.
It seemed like it was going fine. And even during the night portion, I felt like they were having really good relationship conversation, in the sense that, you know, regardless of if you're a fan of Zach or Rachel, it felt like they were really connecting.
Yeah.
She was talking about Clayton with him. He was being supportive with her. He was talking about like how strong his feelings are for her. She seemed to be receiving everything that he was saying.
Yeah, I think that also, well, and she brought up the card reader thing, like, and I felt like that was a positive thing, her saying that the psychic said this isn't the past. She was really focused on that and saying, like, I was caught up in those feelings from Clayton's season, but I feel like I have to remember it's not the past, whatever. It all seemed positive.
Which, by the way, there was a moment where when Rachel brought up Clayton, Zach said, what Clayton did was the worst thing a man can do. And I just keep picturing Clayton and Susie.
She's like, come on.
Like, please let us be. Like, please
leave us alone. Yeah, well.
And in those moments, too, we are seeing, which obviously, like, I know the way that it wrapped with Clayton was not great and very messy and very not good for the women's, like, kind to the women's feelings. But there was a moment where Rachel in an interview was talking about how she has these 3 unbelievably amazing guys.
She's falling in love with
one of which she said she's in love with, 2 of which she's falling in love with. And she's like, nobody understands what this is like.
Clayton probably does. Yeah, Clayton probably does. And that's the other thing. I'm like, yeah, Clayton said, I mean,
or Gabby. I don't know.
You guys are like doing the same shit that Clayton did. He just said it to your face. That's the only thing. You're all literally falling in love with like multiple guys at once and being intimate with all of them too. Yeah. Well, maybe not with Zach, because I knew something was up. Bitch, the custom track they played as they were going to Fantasy Suites. Did you notice that?
Oh, I sure did.
Like, forever in your eyes or whatever they were playing. I was like, whoa. Why do they have a custom single that they're playing?
Either something bad is coming or there's a proposal that's going to happen in the damn Fantasy Suite tonight.
What the hell was that about?
And they woke up the next morning.
The utter silence. The energy was so bad. I've never seen anything like it since Colton and Tasha's overnight.
Correct.
Remember that morning after?
Oh, it haunts me.
I still have questions.
It haunts me. And he brought up what a good cup of joe it was. And she goes, tastes bitter to me. And he's like, I like a full bean.
She's like, you just chewed it up? And I was like,
this is
not good.
Horrible. And you can tell he's trying to smile through pain.
And then his ITM, he's like, that did not go like I thought it would.
He was in shock.
Yeah. Zach was like, that did not go how I thought it was going to.
But this is then too after Rachel says, well, we talked about a lot of things and tough conversations. You handled it well. Hopefully it helped you gain clarity. And I was getting very much like mom-son energy going on. And I'm like, what is happening right now?
What is happening? And they kept alluding. I mean, finally, we got into it when he's in his ITMs, but they kept going back and forth, alluding to this big conversation, and we're getting zero details on it.
Zero.
And I'm like, what the fuck is this about?
Well, then he says that Rachel in the fantasy suite has told him that she does not think he's ready for a commitment at this early of an age.
Well, and he said that it seemed like he basically said that she was hounding him. Like, well, like, are you ready for marriage?
Yes.
Are you?
Which, by the way, they have like a 5-month age gap.
I know.
And here's the thing. If Rachel wants to feel like he is not ready for marriage, totally fine. But you cannot tell someone they're not ready for marriage. Also, I do believe...
This is also the first time we've even heard this brought up.
Even close. Also, Zach has been, from day one, very like...
If there's any guy in it that I think is ready to get down on one knee, it's Zach.
Now, I do have other theories.
Tell me.
Because right before he said, Rachel said he's not ready for a commitment at this early of an age, he said, you know, we went behind the camera, went into the fantasy suite, and, you know, we had the religion politics convo, and then Rachel told me I might be too young. I think there's something in that religion politics convo that might have set off.
Maybe.
There's something in my gut and I can't get past it. And Lord knows I'm probably wrong, but the way that he threw that in there makes me feel, I've never heard, I don't think anyone say that. Except for...
They normally clip that stuff though. Like even when people talk about like politics or religion, like I had a whole conversation with Ari about it. They usually don't show it.
Remember Aven though?
Yeah.
Talking about, I believe, being an atheist.
Yeah.
And that was a whole conversation.
Yeah.
It was just thrown in there that to me, I'm like, that feels like he said that. He wasn't just like, oh, we were having some like, you know, heart to hearts about personal things. It was a little bit like that was thrown in there. And I wonder how intense maybe that conversation was or how different, maybe different pages that they're on.
Is she a Christian?
I don't think she said anything about being a Christian. I get more of that.
Politics or something.
Politics, maybe. But I don't know. I can't get past that.
Honestly, though. What were you going to say?
Well, I was going to say, it seems to me quite clear that it's not that she thinks he's too young for an engagement. Obviously, it's because she's more into the other two men. That's
honestly, like, that really did bother me.
Yes.
Like, and actually, I have to say, Rachel delights me because she is kind of like that. Even when she's not putting on a front, she is kind of like that perfect PTA mom. And I just like, I really like her because I don't know. I just like her and she's funny and she cracks me up just the way who she is. But that really bugged me because that for sure, even if it is the religion politics thing, it for sure, I feel like it wasn't authentic. That's not what she was worried about. That's never come up before. It's almost like she wanted him to come to the conclusion that she wanted him to be like, I'm not ready for an engagement. She wanted him to come to that conclusion. So then she could be like, well, that's the whole reason we're here. And then break up with him. And then it would sort of be like on his, his terms or whatever. She doesn't want to hurt him. This week is a trigger. She said she doesn't want to hurt someone like Clayton hurt her. She doesn't want to have to just straight up dump him because she likes him. And so she's trying to make him get to that. She's trying to push him away to get to that conclusion.
I think you nailed it with the Clayton comment too. We kept hearing about how this week was a trigger. And I can't imagine doing that to someone. All of a sudden, this show puts that reality in front of you. And all of a sudden,
someone's got to go.
Instead of maybe having like empathy for past leads, it was a little more like, I don't want to be that. And then you are just trying to avoid being that by telling someone that they're too young.
Which is like way worse. Like I think basically with Zach, I got where Zach was coming from, where he went to Jesse Palmer and was like, things are off. I felt like she was being really unauthentic, yada, 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 yada. I was like, yeah, no, because regardless of what the reason is, she's just not saying the thing of like, she's not facing the fact, which is she doesn't see it with him in the end. And she's not being honest to him, which is honestly, in my opinion, look, I didn't like the way Clayton handled things, but the guy was honest. And he said how he felt.
Yeah, even if he didn't know what he wanted.
Even if he didn't know what he wanted.
Constantly.
He was being forthcoming. No one appreciates when someone is veiling the truth of how they feel and trying to skirt around it. That sucks.
It's the whole conversation of, instead of I'm dating a guy and instead of him telling me like, listen, I'm just not that into you. I just don't see it going anywhere. Yeah. It's like, hey, I need to work on myself and I'm just too...
I don't know if the timing is right.
I'm like, no, just be honest with me and tell me. And listen, at the end of the day, it would be obviously very painful for Zach to hear because he's clearly so into her and they've had conversations of how into him she is. So that would be confusing.
Yeah.
And you'd be like, what's going on? But if there was an honest conversation of like, listen, I've been so into you this entire time, but I just have to be real with you. My feelings are farther along with Tino and Aven. That's a very common conversation that's had on this show, and it's so painful every time, but it is straightforward, and I don't think that it's an age thing for Zach.
No!
Now maybe...
It's not for her either. That's not true.
Granted.
Yeah.
Maybe granted, and I'm just trying to play devil's advocate here.
Sure.
Maybe when they were alone, all of a sudden when they start talking politics, religion, whatever, like, she maybe goes, he seems kind of immature.
Yeah, I don't know. He's just like, I don't care, whatever.
And then all of a sudden the age thing became kind of an obsession, even though they're only 5 months apart. But I don't think so.
Yeah.
Now, I do think there was something about the religion politics. I believe that, and I think that
definitely
probably
could be
added to it.
Sure.
But you could tell when she woke up that next morning, she had the ick all over her body. Like, she was covered in the ick. And she did not want to be around him.
Well, and the thing is that I do think is interesting was that from the top of the episode, which I didn't expect, she said, I'm not there with Zach. Mm-hmm. So that's the other thing, though, where I'm like, she said at the beginning of the week, I'm not there with him like I am with all the other guys. I just thought it was crazy when he said like that was the most inauthentic like conversation we've ever had. And I did believe him in that. And that was difficult for me as a Rachel fan.
His ITMs were like, first of all, the music in the background, they had like a reverb on his vocals, like he was in a hallway or something.
Yeah.
The ITMs didn't seem like Bachelor. It seemed like a murder documentary. He was literally like, and then this person that I knew, we closed the door and there was someone standing in front of me that I never met before.
Two strangers. Oh yeah,
two strangers staring at one
another. I mean, I do think it would be jarring though. Like, I mean, I saw
absolutely.
the way that it was the next morning between them. I was like,
and he was
totally taken aback.
And he was shaken up.
Oh, yeah.
Like you watched Zach, by the way, go through every single emotion. He started out, you could tell at the breakfast, he's trying to be cordial. And then he was heartbroken, confused. And then he got upset. And then he got mad. I mean, rightly so. I'd be upset too. But like you saw him go through his whole gamut of emotions, the process.
You certainly did.
And that would be really jarring. You feel like you know someone and all of a sudden you're alone and you're like, why are you being so different?
Yeah, I think she just puts those emotional walls up, like, and it, yeah. Ugh.
And then we see the Rachel Rose ceremony and Zach is going in being like, I will be talking to Rachel before she passes out the rose. And you know what I do have to say I love about Zach? The man cannot cover up his emotions on his face.
No, he cannot.
He was standing there just not happy.
I like Zach. I really do.
I think he seems like a really nice guy.
And I do feel like he's very in touch with his emotion. I mean, the age thing, it's like, oh, please. Aven's very mature, but I just feel like he's really in touch with like what's going on with him. And I felt like the way he was verbalizing the situation with Rachel, I felt like he was hitting the nail on the head and he wasn't saying too much. I didn't feel like he was, you know how some people can take something and run with it in terms of their own personal narrative. I didn't really feel like he was doing that. I felt like he was really kind of like nailing everything he was saying.
He also respected the privacy of the conversation.
Yeah.
you know, he wasn't going, well, she, like, obviously he gave us the kind of the ABC of it,
right?
But it wasn't revealing too many behind the scenes.
No,
moments,
that's true.
Which would be easy to do when you're frustrated.
Definitely. I give him credit for that.
Respect.
I like him. Mm-hmm. I like him.
Bachelorette it? Was that what
no,
that is?
I felt like that was a Bachelorette.
It was a big Bachelorette.
And I was, oh my God, we'll see how I don't think she's going to look good.
I know, I don't think so either. Oh man, it's so hard.
Honestly, but Aven could also have the Bachelorette too with however this shit goes down.
That's very true. That's very true.
Tino's not going to be Bachelor. Well, I will say he's a little bitch, but he is beautiful. When you see those close-ups of his face, I just think Tino's got a beautiful face.
Well, for sure. And he's charming and like, I mean, I get it. Like, I totally get it. And also, you know, you can only gather so much from someone on a edited reality TV show. But I will say, I wonder this, and I don't want to put this negative energy out there for our Rachel. But as far as an Aven Bachelorette goes, what if Rachel pulls a Zach on Aven? Like, where all of a sudden then she shuts down on Aven because she wants Tino.
Fuck, I could see that happening. I could very much see that happening.
Like, because when she was saying, like, why are you yelling at me? It was like, he was
not yelling. No.
It's like he's having a conversation.
No, but also, like you said, if he is the one that says he's not getting ready to get down on one knee, like it does seem like a catalyst for that whole situation.
But it's a way.
It's a container.
It's to end it, just like you're too young. You said,
well, you're not ready?
And maybe what he communicated to the family was like, I think so, instead of like, for sure. Yeah. Or something. I don't know.
Or he's just like, you know, like, that's something I've got to figure out in the next week, you know, or something like that.
Yeah. Maybe he just didn't go like, absolutely, I can't wait to propose. Maybe it was just a little more vague, and that then became... I don't know. I
love the whistleblower in her family. He's like, just so you know, though, he said.
I mean, it could be Tino. It could be Tino still.
It could easily be Tino.
Via the conversation, I just feel like it's Aven.
Yeah. Yeah, like you said, Tino's like too impulsive. He's like going to be like, absolutely 100%.
There's no way. Well, you know what? I'm not going to say no way.
Never say never.
Because Lord knows we saw, you know, how Tino was like, there's like, my family is going to adore you. And then maybe Tino operates the same way when meeting a family as his family does meeting a person.
Oh dear.
But I feel like there's no way that Tino's not going to give the family exactly what they want to a fault.
Oh, totally.
Right?
Yes. He'd be like, oh, I know you're going to get along great with my family. They're the friendliest, most, you know, warm people you'll ever meet.
Even when he's having conversations with Jesse Palmer about like, every time he talks about his relationship with Rachel, and Jesse's like, so like any concerns or any... No, it's absolutely perfect. There is like, I know for a fact it'll be me and her at the end, 1,000%. Like the man is like verbally manifesting.
Yes.
24/7.
She is my wife.
She is my wife.
Mrs. whatever his last name
when
is.
he said, I've known for 6 weeks. He's like, in Bruges, I would have wrapped this thing. I knew I was in love with her in Bruges.
That cracked me up when he said that. In Bruges, yeah. Oh man. But yeah, interesting. We'll see how that plays out. On to Gabby.
You want to take one quick pause before getting on to Gabby?
Let's do it.
Okay, so I don't know when this happened, but since when did grocery shopping stop meaning, oh, I'll run down to the grocery store, and start meaning, oh, I'll go to 4 to 6 stores all the way across town to get that specific item or two I like and I need? Let's just be real, people. No one has time to spend hours driving all over the place to grocery shop just to do it again in a few weeks or next week. No way. We need a place where all the items we love are in one convenient spot. So I gotta ask, have you made the switch to Thrive Market yet? Because I have, and I'm so happy about it.
Have you heard of our Lord and Savior Thrive Market?
Please.
They are the best. It's the online marketplace on a mission to make healthy living affordable and accessible for everyone. You don't need 4 to 6 grocery store trips. When you shop on Thrive Market, literally everything you could ever want for every room in your entire house is available right there on the same website. From healthy pantry essentials to sustainable meat and seafood to non-toxic cleaning to clean beauty products, my fave. Literally thousands more products, and it all gets delivered straight to your door, and everything is available to you at a discount, sometimes up to 30% off what you're going to find at local organic grocery stores.
Shopping on the Thrive website is a breeze too, because you can sort through their products using their convenient value and lifestyle filters. They have over 90 of them, by the way. So if you need nut-free snacks for your little one's lunches, or maybe you're gluten-free, I mean, whatever it is, Thrive Market makes it so easy to find.
Yep. Get convenient, high-quality, affordable groceries delivered with Thrive Market. Join Thrive Market today, and you're going to get $80 in free groceries. Yeah, $80 in free groceries. That's THRIVE market.com/chatty. You're going to get $80 in free groceries. thrivemarket.com/chatty.
Okay, broads, we're going to turn the air on because the sweat is starting to drip down my
It's just getting
back.
stuffy. I'm getting faint. I'm getting faint.
Okay. On to sweet Gabby, who had just
A doozy.
the roughest fantasy suite week. Yikes. Okay.
Yeah.
First was Eric.
Yeah. Okay. So Eric. Okay. I'm just gonna start off by saying this. I appreciated on Hometowns getting to see what his really difficult situation in his life right now and how his wonderful family is navigating a very difficult time. I still don't really like him that much. He still gives me like, ugh, I don't know about this guy.
There were moments where I was like, it seems very clear to me that he is very in love with Gabby.
Yeah.
And I think that has taken him by surprise, that this process has led him to falling for this absolute angel.
Which is a good precursor to how I want to approach a conversation that might be controversial.
But then at the same time, yes, there were numerous things in this that I was not stoked on.
It's just
with
little things,
Eric,
though, too. Like,
there were little things throughout it. And obviously we see the preview in next episode. I'm trying to, like, when I'm watching, I'm like, okay, I'm trying to balance, like, obviously knowing, like, the trauma that he's currently going through and the stress of that. But then at the same time being like, okay, what are actions reflecting?
it's also beyond that, though. It's a vibe. Like,
but yeah,
with the jump thing, for example, Gray was like yelling at the TV, being like, just
Dude,
like tell her it's gonna be fine and give her like it's.
That scene lasted for 10 minutes.
It lasted for 10 minutes, and he was just kind of like standing there.
I was panicking watching. Yeah, I'm like, you gotta. It was like,
you know
hey,
what I mean?
either grab her and be like,
I've got you.
I've
Look
got
at me.
you. Like
we're gonna do this together.
Or to be like, baby, fuck this. Let's go back down to the second
for sure.
one.
Or even just like, it's just one step. Come on, I'll count. We can do it. Hold my hand. Like, they didn't even hold hands when they jumped. I don't know. He was just kind of like standing around waiting for her to sort through it.
It was just a lot of silence. And though I
also felt like she was waiting for him to step up to the plate.
I'm like, sometimes I do sometimes appreciate someone giving another person space to process on their own. This is a new relationship, and we're talking about, jumping off of a high thing that she's nervous about.
I felt like she was looking for that. Yeah. She was looking for him to step in and be her little knight in shining armor in that moment.
Yeah,
and be
she
like,
kept grabbing him and kissing him and being like, oh, I'm so nervous. And
he was just kind of like,
yeah.
Yeah. I don't know. There's just little things like that were like sort of the vibe for me. She says that she's in love with him, but she only wants to tell one person and wait for the right time and all of that. He said, I am in love with you. That speech I thought was sweet. Again, I'm just confused with the stages again. So he hasn't said I love you, but he was falling. Now he is in love.
I believe, though, by the end of the episode, they were saying I love you to each other.
I guess I missed that.
Maybe I'm wrong, but I thought that when they were smooching, when she came and saw him at the very
she said,
end.
I love you? Just straight up? I love you?
That he goes, I love you, and they were kissing.
Okay.
I believe so.
Okay,
don't quote me.
He's taking it all the way. Okay. So yeah, I don't know. During that date thing, I was kind of like, meh. I had iffy feelings about that.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, and then after that is, because we are kind of jumping because they show people in between, correct?
No.
Does he say that, does he talk about the fantasy suites at all with her that night? I'm getting a little mixed up.
So he's the first on the roster in the whole show.
Right.
So we see after he says he's in love with her and she says that she's falling in love with him, they go to the fantasy suites together. And oh my God, which we didn't talk about, P.S., was during the final fantasy suite date, aka Rachel and Zach's, the note was like a full-blown
letter from
like cheeky note from Jesse Palmer, like, hope you didn't forget to bring me tequila. I'm like, some PA is really taking liberties right now.
Straight up.
Like,
I'm like, okay, Jesse's gonna pop into the fantasy suite around 2 a.m. and be like, where's my tequila?
Be like, hey kids, knock, knock, knock.
Yeah,
what are you doing in
really
here?
Weirdly personal, especially for fantasy suites week.
Yes. Normally it's just kind of like, do you accept this key to go into the fantasy suite to spend a night together?
Yeah.
No, but it was literally the card was covered in small writing. It was a full letter from Jesse Palmer.
Dissertation. But yeah, they go to the...
That's when then we see
so
that...
he doesn't talk about that
We
at all.
see that fantasy suite for the first time, which then we see again.
And again.
And again. And again, which includes a 12-person dining room table for, I don't know, their meetings in the morning about their Instagram content in the future together. Let's map this out, baby. But that's really all that we see. Just besides them kissing, they go. It looks like they go straight to the bedroom. There wasn't any like sitting and opening champagne. It looked like we went straight to the bedroom, and they wake up at first very happy, cooking in the kitchen together, having their cute moments, and then it starts to get quite heavy and emotional. Like the intimacy to me, then at this point, is quite off the chain.
Okay. Remind me, I'm getting a little bit all over the place. Remind me of what the conversation was in the morning.
So basically, they cook together. It's very sweet. And then...
Because she saw him 2 more times after this, right?
Correct.
After this, okay.
But then they're on the balcony.
Yeah.
And they're head to head, eyes are closed.
Yeah.
And he's like, I don't want to leave. And she like doesn't want him to leave.
That's right.
And then
Feels
this
like
is where
ago.
it starts to get a little iffy cakes for me.
Okay.
Is they're all like in this intimate, head to head emotional embrace. And Gabby says, you know how I feel. And he says, you're confused? And she says, you think I'm confused? And then he says, well, I'm confused. So he starts the conversation off by being like, or again, last night, I'm in love with you. They have apparently a great night. They're all then intimate and cozy in the morning. And then in his fear, he tells her she's confused and she goes, what? And then he's like, well, I'm confused, and starts putting those seeds of doubt in there, which is not a good move. I don't think it's a kind move if it's an emotionally immature move. Instead of just being direct.
What was the first thing she said? You know how I feel?
Yeah, she was telling him, like, he was like, oh man, this is so tough.
Yeah.
And then she was like, you know how I feel though. And he's like, you're confused? And then she's like, what? Now, we also know that we find out later, they had this conversation
about him saying he was struggling with feelings of jealousy and all that
Correct. And he also apparently told her that he felt like her going on these other dates was like cheating.
Yeah.
So she's already carrying that.
Yeah.
She says that in their fantasy suite private conversation that she was basically just affirming him and being like, you know me at this point, and I've shown you who I am. And so
what does that mean? Okay, I'm like, when people say that, what does that mean though?
What does what mean?
Like, you know me, you know how I feel. Like, what is that saying? Like,
I think it was a little more like you should be able to trust me.
What does that? Okay, what does that mean though? I was thinking about that. What does that mean? You can trust me. What does that mean?
I would gather that it means if I'm not into you, I would send you home.
Yeah, but also it's like, I think that's the whole thing though. It's like, what if you're just as into the 2 other guys as you are to me?
Sure, which is all valid, but here's the point. And this is what I'm and we'll get into it with Jason and Johnny.
Yeah.
What I'm so sick of are these people coming on the show? I totally get, I can't imagine being in that position. All of a sudden you've been sequestered from everyone you care about and your phone. Yeah. And now you're feeling all these feelings for this person, and you know, you make mistakes or whatever, or you get, your emotions are high. But like, you know,
I know
that there's the societal expectation that there's an engagement at the end of this. Yeah. And you also know that fantasy suites happen.
I know.
And back in the day, in the good old Bachelor days, we didn't talk about it with the other contestants. It was very rarely brought up. You had your date with the person, and there wasn't this crossover of like, what are you doing in there with that other person?
Which is kind of wild that wasn't a thing back in the day. Like, I don't know why this season, both the engagement thing and both this thing are like clicking with me, where I was like, oh, and I really did feel this with Eric, even though I don't really like Eric. I did feel where I was like, oh, he didn't think, okay, you guys know how I felt about on Maddie's season. What bothered me with Maddie on Pete's season was that it was a feeling she had come into with from the beginning.
Correct. Yes.
Where she was like, I'm not cool with that from the beginning. That was a value she had that she chose to share until a certain time.
Yes.
That's kind of what bothered me with that. What I felt with Eric is I was like, oh, you didn't think it was gonna be a problem until you realized how much you love this girl. So I was kind of yelling at Gray because Gray was like, fuck this dude. And I was like, bro, Gray, you could be in this exact situation. Imagine if it was me and you were falling in love with me, and then all of a sudden you're like, oh, fuck. The reality of this show means she might be gazing into some other dude's eyes and fucking him like we just did last night.
But this is my thing. Yeah. That is so valid.
Yeah.
And the pain of that, so valid. In the process of it, and I think it's okay. I do believe it's okay. I think it's good to communicate how you feel. And I do believe it's okay that the fact that like, you know, a contestant shares with a lead, I am struggling right now because I do love you, and this is making me jealous, or this is making me insecure. We obviously didn't see their private conversation. My problem began when, I feel that, in the morning, after apparently they had these long conversations, he then all of a sudden goes, well, you're confused. So she's like, what? And then he's like, and then he goes, well, I'm confused.
It's like, yeah, like you said, you're like, why not be forthcoming and just like say that?
And then there's kind of this thing of where he's like, I'm gonna be
like, just say like, I'm still having a really hard time.
Yeah, it's okay. And it's like, you know, at a certain point you go like, hey, okay, it's time to let this person have their space. And because that's what this process is.
Because I'm going on my next date.
Correct. I will be going. But I don't like when it's like,
yeah, I agree.
And then also him putting those words like, well, you're confused. It's like, huh? I showed you all last night. I tried to have this conversation. Again, we don't see it, so we can't speak fully into it. But that's when I start going, like,
I don't like that.
You know what I wrote down, because at one point he goes, you know, I'm not normally a jealous person, but I'm like, I would love one season for someone to come on and be like,
I'm a jealous person.
I really struggle with jealousy, and so this is gonna be really hard for me. Everyone's always like, I'm not normally jealous. I'm like, I can't want the contestant to come on and be like, jealousy is such an issue for me, and I know fantasy suite's gonna be a nightmare. So I'm just prepping myself, mind, body, and soul that I'm jealous, and to tell a lead like, I struggle with jealousy, so I'm gonna do my best to communicate with you and not put any pressures on you because of all these boundaries, and this is your role in this situation, blah blah blah. But just so you know, I do struggle with jealousy.
Well, and also like, I could see myself being in that situation though too. I'm not a jealous person. I've also never been in the situation where the man I'm in love with is gonna go on 2 dates with people he's also in love with and have intimate sex with them right after me.
Absolutely. But what I'm saying is, I don't believe that all these people aren't jealous. I'm not saying Eric. I'm saying every person on this fringe. No one has ever said, I'm a jealous person. Everyone always goes, I don't normally get jealous. It happens every season. I'm like, I know all of you. Someone's jealous in this group. Someone's a jealous person in this group.
I think everyone would clown on them though and be like, well, then why are you going on a show where you're dating 30, this guy's dating 30 fucking people?
I'd be like, well, I'm working on myself, goddammit.
This is exposure therapy.
This is exposure therapy for me. This is active practice, and I am working on my jealousy issues right here and right now, baby.
God.
With accountability because there's a camera in my face and producers around me. Let's go.
Let's go. I would definitely respect that. That's for freaking sure. But yeah,
I'd be so jealous. I feel like I can own that about myself. If I liked the person, I would be totally jealous thinking about that. I just would have to fully try to disassociate, which also isn't healthy.
I felt like, granted, looking back on it, I don't think I was definitely not like head over heels in love with Ari. Like I can think of, partners where if I had been on the show with them, I would have been like losing my fucking mind, just be like, oh my God, so distressed. But I did feel like it was pretty easy to compartmentalize because like you're generally not running into someone on the date, or like I guess sometimes you interrupt conversations they're making out.
Well, and they gave the men their own hotel rooms.
I know.
They didn't do the
sick hotel rooms too with freaking hot tubs on the patio.
Yeah, a nice way for them to.
That's the first time in years that they've done that.
I know.
There's enough drama. You don't need it.
I was going to say they didn't need it. There was enough.
Certainly
and
don't need it.
And there was jealousy enough, regardless.
Wouldn't it have been interesting though if they put all 6 guys together, like Rachel and Gabby's men?
That would be interesting.
To like talk together about like
if they would have put the men together, the level of drama would have had to be like a 4-part fantasy
Tino?
suite. Absolutely not. Absolutely not.
That's true. It would have taken up too much.
It would be too long. It'd be too long. The drama would have been endless.
Oh, it would have been
endless.
Okay, so how did that date end?
So basically, they're rapping and it took a long time for them to say goodbye. Yeah. You could tell that they both didn't want to say goodbye. Gabby as well. Gabby was falling hard and falling in love with Eric and but at the same time too, I was having a hard time during part of this episode because there was so much Frankenbiting that I didn't know.
I didn't even notice that.
Oh my gosh. Because so many of the audio clips during this episode had this crazy reverb on it. I don't understand why. It's driving my audio issues crazy.
Of the place they were
So you could hear when they were Frankenbiting it pretty well because the reverb would shift and like the audio, like the volume was going up and down.
Damn.
But so that's kind of how that's how their date wrapped.
Okay.
And then we'll see Eric again soon. But in the meantime, Gabby goes on her date with Johnny.
In the meantime, Gabby breaks up with Johnny.
I mean, after Johnny says that Gabby's the dopest girl I've ever hung with, I was like, clearly this isn't going to be going anywhere super serious.
No. I appreciated his honesty when she asked if he could get engaged. I felt like he was pretty straightforward with that.
Yes. I'm confused. Now, granted, this is me talking about in comparison to the Logan situation where I was like, he wasn't able to tell her. But I'm confused as to why Johnny and Jason had not communicated this to Gabby when both of them seemed...
I don't know about Johnny. Jason, I'm actually about to ride for like pretty hard.
Okay.
So I don't know about Johnny. I mean, this is what I will say personally, just vibe-wise. I felt like Johnny knew all along he wasn't gonna get engaged to a girl at the end of this.
Agreed. That's why I'm saying, like, okay.
I felt like Jason was, from the beginning, like when he wanted to leave, I felt like he was taken... I felt like he was surprised by his level of feelings for Gabby.
Sure.
And I think that there were, especially like, I remember after their first one-on-one, I do feel like Jason was holding out hope that he was gonna get there.
Yes.
And I feel like he wasn't gonna make any declaration of like, I can't propose to you. I feel like he wasn't gonna say that until he knew he wasn't gonna get there, because he saw how much his feelings jumped. Even, like I said, after the first date, he was like, I'm over this bullshit.
Yes.
And then that time with her, and he was like, dude, this is like, I feel something real for this girl. So I feel like in his brain, it was like, maybe it's just gonna take like another date to like get us to the next level.
I fully agree with you with Jason.
Yeah.
But I do feel like both of them came into this show being like, there's no way I'm getting engaged to someone.
Yeah.
And this is a show where, again...
But I also feel like I feel like I went in with that, though. Like, there's no way I'm at the end of this, like, this dude, I'm going to get engaged to him.
Sure. Yeah.
But then I was like, before I left, I was like, literally on that week when I left, which was before Hometowns, I was like, holy shit, like, maybe I could get engaged to this guy.
Yeah.
So, I don't know.
Yeah. I just feel like within the Johnny date, obviously he was having fun with her on the boat. It was a good time. But I felt like he had already, like, after the hometown, even though his dad had that conversation with him, I felt like he was like, paradise for me, kids. Like, it was very much that energy, because I don't think we've ever seen a breakup this far along with less emotion.
Yeah. But she also knew that he was her good time guy.
Sure.
So I felt like there was a mutual understanding of like,
but like, there was
fun.
no, like, he did not cry at all.
Yeah.
He was like, I think I feel upset. He said, I think I feel upset. And then it was, and she walked away and he goes, there goes my girl. And it was just like, this is fantasy suites. This is far along.
Well, that's why she broke up with him.
I
I sort of thought though she was just gonna, like, I mean, I already knew it was gonna happen because of the previews. It was obvious that she was gonna cut him loose. Like, but I was sort of like, maybe she'll just do the overnights. But I think she just feels too seriously about the other guys to even put him on that level with them.
I would imagine after the Eric date and how that ended, maybe
if Johnny was first.
Yeah. Maybe she would have
been
followed
different.
through. But it was like after Eric, she was so emotionally connected, and that was like so intense.
Yeah.
And let's not forget that Eric apparently said to her, it's like she's cheating. So she's carrying that around.
For sure.
That shame that she should not be carrying. That maybe it's a little bit like, oh, I can't, if this isn't real, if this doesn't have a potential for engagement, then maybe I'm out.
Yeah. Do you think that's shaming someone to be like, it feels like cheating to me?
It just depends on how it's said.
Yeah. It says like, if you do this, you're cheating on me. I think that's one thing. But
yeah,
I feel like I could understand how it feels to feel like someone's cheating on you, though.
Sure.
To go and, yeah. Also, I wonder, because I know from other contestants that there have been times in the fantasy suite where the person has said, it's you at the end of this, which was something I couldn't get out of my head. Later on in her conversations with Eric, there was a lot of allusions to conversations, allusions with an A. There was a lot of allusions to conversations in the fantasy suites. That made me feel like she told him he was the one.
Really? Because then when the whole Jason thing went down, she was like, to me, I always saw Jason at the end.
I know, but people say that, like, but what does at the end mean?
But would she have said that? I don't know. Gabby doesn't hit me that way. Gabby to me feels like, oh man, what was that line that she said?
I don't think saying, by the way, I don't think it's saying that is wrong.
What's saying you're going to be the one at the end of this, even if you don't know?
No, I think if she said that, she would feel like it was him. Like, I don't think she would say that and not know.
No, I was saying then if she said that and she was like trying to make it work with Jason, I wouldn't think that would be a great thing to tell someone you're going to be my final person for sure, and then you're trying to make it work with other people. I feel like you just don't say that. Because it's different telling someone, it's different saying like, I'm falling in love with you or I am in love with you versus like, you're the final one.
Yeah.
That's a pretty definitive, like, it's you. And then when you go back on that, that's pretty wild.
I guess, but what do you think is the difference between saying it and knowing it? I feel like she knows who's her guy at the end, though.
Yeah. Well, like she said about Jason after they had the dinner, she did say, I think like I knew this in my heart the whole time, but I was just like trying to make it work.
Yeah.
Anywho, let's get there because so the Johnny thing, it was
he's gone. Whatever.
I mean, he's gone. We're gonna see him in paradise apparently. And by the way, I know that we saw that Logan was a hot commodity. I'm sure Johnny will be as well.
I think so too.
Because we saw how Rachel and Gabby reacted to Johnny, and I'm sure
he must have that in-person energy or something vibe. Like that. I guess
I would imagine it's gonna be a lot of women on the beach are gonna be vying for Johnny.
I think so too.
It's going to be a shit show. Okay.
So she gets a note from Eric.
Yeah, without a signature. Just
I felt like
dot.
If I were her, I kind of would have thought it was Johnny.
Oh, I thought it definitely could be.
Yeah.
I would have been like, come on, Johnny. We saw how this wrapped.
But no, it's Eric on the bridge waiting to tell her, I still want to talk about how I can't handle this.
Well, and it wasn't quite that. He said, I just wanted to see you because I missed you.
And he said,
and then she's so happy and kissing him. And he goes, well, then also actually. It's like, okay, let's again have honest communication here. Not the
right. Don't do this weird sort of like you said. Yeah, totally. It's the same thing as him being like, you're confused. And she's like, no. And he's like, well, I am. It's like, what?
That's my issue with this whole thing. Is
like,
that
just
it's like,
when she comes up, just be like, I needed to talk to you more about this. Instead of, I just want,
That's my issue with this whole thing is like just the kind of manipulation of instead of just being, and I'm not trying to put on Johnny. I'm not trying to put on Eric like that it's intentional manipulation.
Yeah.
It's just more because of the fear of maybe losing this person instead of just being forthcoming, being honest. It's all just kind of dodgy.
And again, I don't really, I agree. I think it's like, that's a perfect example of what you just, he's done that a couple times now where he's not just straight up like, we got to talk about that shit again. I still feel like there's stuff that's unresolved that we need to discuss.
It's like, I just wanted to see you because I missed you. And she was so overjoyed because that note made her nervous. It had a ... at the end. So then all of a sudden she has a rush of adrenaline. I get to smooch my guy. I'm so happy. And then it's like, by the way.
Well, and she said, did you catch her going, Eric and I always struggle with miscommunication. Mm-hmm. That, to me personally, that was the biggest issue with all of this is that, and just, just what you were saying. It's that miscommunication. It's that like not quite being fully like transparent, sidestepping, being honest about your feelings kind of in that way. I do think that people tend to not think about how they would feel in this situation. I think it's really easy, and I feel like I've done it, to say like, you know what you're getting into. Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. But I do feel like Eric didn't know he was going to be so overwhelmed by this feeling.
Oh, I don't doubt that at all. Like I said, I genuinely believe he really loves her and he was caught off guard.
Yeah.
If I'm Gabby, I'm upset now because and we saw her reaction to that, where she then right away looks at him and immediately starts crying and says, are you seriously going to do this? We had a private conversation. And that's blindsiding for her because it's like, I thought that this was a private conversation we weren't going to air out. And now you're throwing this out there without context that shows we've already talked about this. And now it's going to put me in a certain light.
Yeah.
That's not cool.
Yeah. I didn't think she looked bad though in any of it.
Oh my God, no, the opposite. She looked incredible throughout the entire episode. But I'm saying then there's that fear there when all of a sudden, he brings up this conversation like they hadn't had it for a long time in the fantasy suite. Like it's a new conversation.
Yeah. There were some things where, she was like, I think he's testing me. I didn't feel that. I felt like but again, the subtext, so instead of just saying it, I felt like the subtext was like, if I'm the one, like, can we just end this now? Like, can we just shut this shit down?
That's the thing. Is there
But I don't think that's unfair.
I feel like it's not kind to know the situation you're getting into. Of course, you don't know how you're going to feel, but you can only be responsible for your own feelings. And this person is going through all this stress.
Yeah.
You know what the show is supposed to look like. You know that they're supposed to go all the way through finale.
But what if you feel like your relationship will implode if you can't get over the fact that she had a almost equally as strong connection with someone else and had like that closeness and intimateness with them in that way? I feel like that's pretty like a human thing to experience.
I think
so what
it's
if
super
so what if
human.
that's the subtext of being like, I don't know if I'll be able to get over this, like.
Yeah, I think that's why it makes the show interesting, right? Because you're like, there's the unwritten rules of like, this is how the show goes.
Right.
And if you do that to a lead, you are putting so much not kind pressure on them because they have.
Well, and on their. Continue.
And it feels like an ultimatum.
Yeah, but also I also feel like if you are looking at it, which he is, of like, dude, I could see myself marrying you and being like, I actually don't know if I can recover from this if you do have this level of intimacy with someone else during this experience.
Yeah, I guess for me, I would just be like, if I'm in Gabby's, and I don't mean this to sound brash, but I'd be like, that's on you then.
Yeah.
If you can't, this is what we signed up for. This is what we're doing. I know and that's what I'm assuming was happening in the fantasy suite.
Yeah.
You're communicating to me how you feel, and I'm telling you, I'm not going to keep you around if I didn't feel this way about you, and I'm not going to keep anybody else around if I don't feel that way about them. But this is what I'm doing right now. Gabby kept hearkening back to, I need to do what's best for me. She kept saying that.
Yeah.
So I think she's just standing her ground and being like, this is how I'm going to move forward in this process, regardless of, maybe those outside voices like an Eric being like, our relationship might implode. And then it's a little bit like, then
I guess what I'll say to that is I feel like then that's totally fair. And I don't feel like that's manipulative of him to remove himself if that's how he feels.
Yeah, that's always for me been in the past when like you see, again, we have a different with the Maddie Pruitt situation because that was
she knew from the top she wasn't cool with
she wasn't
it.
Okay with fantasy suites. But with people who are all of a sudden overcome by this emotion, it's like I never expected I'd feel this way. And if they remove themselves, I think if it's done, but it's all in the way that it's handled. Mm-hmm. If you are trying to use manipulation tactics to get the lead to like ditch with you or kind of do what you want. Now where my question marks go up then is that in the preview, Eric's going like, actually, I think we should just date. I'm feeling all sorts of emotions.
Yeah. Well, and that could be influenced by oh shit, she didn't go on an overnight with anyone else.
No.
She didn't even end up going on an overnight date with anybody. How did that conversation end on the bridge? That didn't end well.
No. So, it ended okay because Gabby walked away because she was upset.
Yes.
And then she came back and was, hugged Eric and was kind of like, I needed to gather myself.
Yeah.
And these are the ways why I'm now feeling frustrated because you said this stuff to me.
Yeah.
Because we had all these conversations and now you're bringing this up and I don't think it's fair. And she communicated, I think, so wonderfully, like where she was at with him. And then they kind of kissed and they left. And it was left in the air where Eric's like, did I just blow it?
Right.
And Gabby then is telling Jesse Palmer, I don't know now if I'm okay with this.
Yeah.
I don't know if he's my guy because I feel like he's putting me in this position and I don't like it.
Okay, let me ask you this though.
Yeah.
When we say like, oh, you shouldn't put me in this position, if this is your problem, you got to deal with it, whatever. What if the alternative though is someone not saying that and then after fantasy suites, when they come down to the top 2 or whatever, they say, I can't get over the fact that you have someone else at this stage and like I need to leave.
I would much rather you tell me before.
Yeah.
For sure.
Okay.
1,000%.
Because then that also feels shitty because I feel like, because then that feels shitty to be like, actually, like I can't handle this and I need to leave because I don't think I can get engaged, like knowing you had the same level of connection with someone else.
If you say that to someone after the fantasy suite, again, that's on you because...
Well, I know, but they're removing themselves and they're saying like, I'm going to leave now.
You mean after the fantasy suite or before?
After. So they're like on the final 2, like, okay, so Eric's processing this after their fantasy suite, right? Where he's like, fuck, what we just had at the fantasy suite, like, I don't know if I can handle you doing this with someone else, right? And the sort of energy is like, well, you shouldn't put this on her now. She's got that in her head. Like, that's not, she doesn't want to be put in that position to like have to deal with your feelings. That's on you. But then the alternative could be that person not saying anything and then it's in the final 2 and they're like, yo, this is really like, I haven't been able to get over it. I need to remove myself now, like knowing that you had that level of connection with someone else. Then that seems way worse though.
Oh yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
100%.
So my point being, I don't feel like someone can avoid the feeling of like, I don't know if I can get over this. Like if we get engaged, like, I don't know if I can get over that you might have felt like as strongly for someone else.
And 1000% to me, so valid.
Yeah.
So valid.
Yeah.
We're all our own.
Yeah.
You have our own processes, whatever.
Most of us would probably feel that way.
But again, it's just in the way, instead of maybe the straightforwardness of it being, you know, wait, I'm actually confused, or I wanted to just say hi, and then again airing something that had been private without her, with it then seeming like you guys had never had that conversation, and like there's just a lot of things where you're like, oh dude,
how would you have handled it?
Move.
It's Aven.
How would I have handled it
if you actually felt like, I don't know if I can get engaged to you, like I don't know if I can get engaged to you, if you were like
intimate with 2 other people,
felt as strongly for me as you like did for someone else on the show, but I was just a bit more, and then you know that's why you want to continue with me.
I would probably say, I would be like, I would express that this is how I feel. I don't know if I would do this, but I would hope.
Yeah.
What I would do is I would say, this is how I feel, and I know that that's a me issue, not a you issue, but I need to communicate this with you, and I need you to know, I can't promise you that I will be able to get there.
Yeah.
I can't promise you I'll be able to be engaged if that happens. Maybe in this moment I think I might, but next week I might be so emotionally overcome that I won't. So I want to leave that up to you. If you're not okay with me maybe then
leaving,
eventually pulling the plug,
it,
and that's just, and that's like not something that you want to have to process through or whatever. I just want to tell you that now so that you can be with other people.
Well, and also I feel like the subtext of that though is like, if you decide that.
No, but I wouldn't say I'm gonna leave.
Yeah,
I wouldn't be like if
no, but that, I feel like the subtext of what you just said though is like, I might leave next week if I can't handle, or I might not get engaged if I can't handle.
If that's how I felt in the show, you know, I'm like, I couldn't lie to the person and fake it and then all of a sudden pull the plug last minute. But I would just try to communicate and be open the entire time of like, these are the things I'm feeling right now. It's not your responsibility. I shouldn't put that on you, but I'm just telling you how I feel. In 2 weeks, I might be so distraught by this. So before I get there, I want to let you know that.
Yeah.
I think that's the only thing.
I can't do it. Yeah. It still sucks.
But
it still sucks.
But it's
then
also,
that person is like,
but it's
fuck,
also
is she gonna dip? Like
hard for me because, to be honest, like I know we're talking about like, until you're in the position, you can't imagine. I also though I don't think I would put myself in that position to
go on the show.
Or if I did go on the show, I'd be like, okay, like I'm aware of what's gonna happen, and so then I'm just gonna have to deal with it
until Evan's the Bachelor, and then you're totally in love with him.
But then I'm like, I made that call, so it's like, this is kind of
easier said than done. I think I would legit be like, look, I'm gonna stick through no matter what. But like, if you feel like I'm the one, let's make our future relationship easier on ourselves, and let's dip together. And then if he was like, I'm not sure that you're the one, then I would be like, I'd still stick it out, and I'd be like, okay. Yeah. But I would be like, if you do, like, I think I would say that I would be probably in Fantasy Suites though. I'd be like, if any part of you really believes that I'm the one at the end of this, like, let's save ourselves the drama and heartache, and like, let's leave now.
Right. My Libra's all over the place right now. I'm like, I have every feeling about like how I would handle it, about what I think is okay and not okay. I'm a little bit like, I don't know.
And realistically, these are situations that most of us will not be in, and that these people have never been in, and it's difficult to navigate.
Oh, 1,000%.
Now, okay, but when we come back to them, can we just talk about when she comes back to him? No, we have to talk about Jason first. Because then how things wrap up with Eric and Gabby, I was like, what the fuck?
Okay, I'm interested.
Okay.
Your perspective.
Okay,
so... All right. Jeez, man.
Okay, what I was really shocked by, so obviously Jason's a cautious guy. And through the date, I'm like, there's such a good pairing because she's like really wild and he's so cautious and it's just like yin and yang.
When they started the date, I know what he had said to Jesse Palmer, but when they started the date, bitch, I literally was like, you know what? I know how he feels. It's going to change by the end of this. It was, in my opinion, the best of all the dates.
I was like, they look good together. This feels real. Whenever I will say this, when I see Eric and Gabby together, like I have a hard time picturing them in real life, like having a serious relationship together. Like,
interesting. Okay.
I don't know. I just can't imagine like the two of them coming over to granted, I'm not friends with either of them, but like I just couldn't see the two of them in my living room at a game night as a couple.
Okay.
But then like Jason and Gabby, I could see that.
Yes.
Do you know what I'm saying?
Well, you and I this whole time, we were like Jason and Gabby. And I felt like during the date portion of this, after her date with Eric, after her date with Johnny, the date portions, I was like, this clearly is... They're having so much fun. She's like, oh my God, spank me with that racket. It's so hot. The way that she was like, let's do tennis together. And that's what he did. And they were just... And then in the pool, it was just... He's obviously a very low-key, nervous in front of the camera person. But they seemed like they were having such a like legitimately good time together.
Yeah. Okay. They get into their... difficult conversation. I don't even remember how it started. How did that start?
It started because he had said that he wanted to communicate with Gabby where he was coming from and be honest with her. Okay. And so he basically tells her, by the way, in like his ITMs, he was like, there are real feelings there, but I need to express how I feel. Hopefully she'll take it well. I was like, oh Jason. God. While simultaneously Gabby saying like, I'm ready for an engagement, and I get from him that he's there too. And I'm like, no.
What blew me away is when they got into this conversation and he's, says the engagement, like, I don't know if I'll be there in a couple weeks or whatever he says. When she said, do you know if you can like see me at all in your future? I had to rewind this because I was like, wait, what did she ask exactly? She said, do you know if you can like see me at all in your future? Not like, can you see getting engaged to me in the future? Like, can you see me at all in your future? He said, it's really hard for me to say that right now. Like, say for sure right now. And I'm like, what? You don't even know if you'll keep dating her after this? I was like, what the fuck is happening?
Then, okay.
That was I mean, I can only imagine how shocked she must be feeling. I was like, you don't know if you can see her at all. Okay. And then later on in the conversation, he said, I can see us getting to a point and this is, by the way, this is when they like made up later on. I'm skipping ahead. But this was like all she needed to hear for them to be fine. You mean when
she was standing behind the palm tree and I thought he was talking to himself because you couldn't see her because she's so tiny that the palm tree, I couldn't even see Gabby. I was like, is Jason talking to himself?
I don't know, but he said... And after he said this, she felt better. He said, I can see us getting to a point in real life where we can like spend time together. That's not even, I get chills. He didn't even say like, I could see you being my girlfriend. He said, I can see us getting to a point in real life where we can like hang. And then he said, I hope this can turn into a serious relationship that we can build off of. And then they started making out.
Okay.
I was like, you don't even see this as a serious relationship. You hardly even see it as you guys actually dating right now, which I guess is, as you said, a realist point of view, considering how much time collectively they have spent together.
Well, and then when she looked at him and she goes, and it was so, my heart broke Becca, when I tell you my heart broke into 5 million pieces, when she goes, I need you to kind of like be that hopeless romantic. Get into that hopeless romanticism. And okay.
And then she said it, by the way, after those quotes that I just quoted, she said, Jason did say he could see a future with me. And I'm like, he said he could see a future with you guys hanging out.
Yeah. I'm like, from what I'm gathering from this conversation, I don't even know if Jason's
he's essentially saying he might call you after.
It's a little bit like, we're definitely not leaving here boyfriend, girlfriend. It's more like, let's go have some dates in real life.
Yeah, I'll text you and we can coordinate something when we land. That was the energy.
Listen, I was clearly a ride or die for Jason this entire time, obsessed with him. And even though I said during the hometowns, I was like, I have an issue with the fact that he has not brought this up to Gabby, the fact that he could not see himself getting engaged at the end of this. I was like, man, he needed to bring that up to her before he said goodbye to her at hometown dates. But even then, I was like, you know what? Clearly, which we talked about, seems like his sister signed him up for this, and it's not like this man was like, let's go on this show. And he was trying to leave.
like
And as he reminded us many times, this process has been very hard for him. He's tried to leave a ton. He hates the cameras and the lights and all of that.
He hates everything about this
experience. He hates it. And he kept saying, like, to his dad, to his mom, it's been insane. Like, he's just in shock.
And I didn't feel like it was manipulative. I felt like it was real when he was like, I would not be here, like, if it wasn't for you. Like, I do, like, see something with you.
And that's my thing. My whole thing was, I was okay. Even though I was like, you should have communicated sooner. Yeah. I was okay with the idea of you don't like being in front of the camera. You feel like you can't fully get to know someone. And you know what? Guess what? You guys, all of y'all have really known each other for an accumulative time alone of like a day.
Yeah.
So understandable.
Got like 14 hours together.
Right.
Locked in.
Understandable that you're not ready to be like, I'm in love with you and I want to marry you. Also, we talk about a lot, people feel in love at different levels. Like, I know for myself, it takes a really long time for me to feel like I am in love, and maybe another person, like when I'm at level 1, they feel like level 1 is level 10. Sure. And they'd be like, I'm in love with you. And versus I'm going, that's not love yet. Like, we all have our different perspectives. Yeah. All of that. Fine. And if he, during the night portion, would have been like, I can't see myself getting engaged at the end of this, because to be completely honest with you, I don't know how much you can really know someone through and through with the cameras everywhere, but I am over the moon about you and I want to leave. I want to leave in a relationship, and I want us to really start our very beginning when we leave this. I don't think I'm ready for the seriousness of an engagement, but you're my girl and I want to be there. I would have felt very differently.
Yeah.
I don't know what I watched.
I think, honestly, I think what we watched is I think that he was heavily overthinking things. I do think this man cares about her. I do think that I think that they could definitely, I think that he could definitely have a serious relationship with her coming off the show, not being engaged. I think that he was overthinking central. I really think he was over processing. I think he was like, this is crazy. I mean, I barely know her. And I do think that he was not allowing himself to feel the feelings that he was feeling and to get a little caught up in the moment, which, granted, he's not a romantic, but I did feel like earlier in the season, he was letting himself get a little caught up in the moment with her. And I think now that things are coming down to the wire, I think he's like, backpedaling, like, I can't. But so I don't feel like he was being honest with himself, to be honest. I think that his level of feelings for her were strong enough to take it to a relationship coming off of the show.
Yeah, not an engagement, but boyfriend, girlfriend.
But for him to be like, I don't know, maybe we can hang after, I feel like that was a lot of fear talking.
Yeah, I was going to say, it was like no willingness to take a risk, which I know risks are really scary.
Yeah, for sure.
And he seems like a very analytical person.
But love is a risk. You gotta just take the jump like Eric and Gabby did off of the...
But love is a battlefield, baby.
Off of the 35-foot, the huge drop.
Oh, I would never.
That was really high.
I absolutely would not. I'd be like, I'm out. Sorry.
Yeah,
I'm going to go lay
really
on the blanket drink champagne. I'll watch you jump off over and over and over again. I also, I love a cenote. But
I love a cenote.
I do. I love a cenote. Yeah. But like jumping off that high, I'm like, I don't know what I'm hitting at the bottom.
I'm like, that's what I was thinking. I'm like, they must have explored that a little bit with some snorkels, right?
So.
To see how deep that thing is.
So. Or what
I actually did jump off something almost that high in Costa Rica. I climbed to the top of the tree, and the only reason I jumped is because there was a hornet's nest, and I was like,
a reasonable reason to jump. That's a big, balance of which is worse in this moment. The potential creature at the bottom of this,
right? Or me breaking my neck and being paralyzed,
or the
wasps stinging
the wasps,
me, right? But I just didn't feel like he was completely needed to take a little risk.
And then I'm going to be straight up honest with you. I just did not understand then what happened. So they decided to go to the fantasy suite, which was like, all right, maybe they'll be able to talk through.
Yeah. And also he doesn't like the cameras being on him. Like maybe he can get radically honest and just...
I was so confident that they were going to go into the fantasy suite and they were going to wake up the next morning and she was going to be like, I'm still concerned because, I was wanting to leave here with an engagement, but like I heard Jason out and he like, let it be known that he is falling for me, but like it just might not look like how the traditional show ends.
No, she said we were going in circles and could not resolve anything.
It sounded like they went into the fantasy suite and like they hated each other. That's what it felt like.
Which honestly, I think it feels like a real relationship. I think they're hitting. Yeah.
Because then she was saying that when they were in the fantasy suite, they start going in circles and then he's kind of just like, fine, is this done? Like just kind of cold.
Which shows me that he does care about her. Not that she should be with him, but it does show me that like he's not being honest with himself. I think that, yeah.
Well, then when she shows up at his door, his hotel room,
what did
the
they
next
just
morning,
they just split at like 2 a.m., 3 a.m.?
She's like, we were talking for hours. I was exhausted, and it was like, this isn't going. Well, no, she said, she goes, I think we need to take a break here and like pause.
Yeah.
Take a step away from each other. And then he was like, fine, is that it? Like, is it over, basically? And then when she went there the next morning, very, very, very uncomfortable conversation. God, there's some rough mornings in this episode. there are some rough mornings. She wrapped it up in a way that I thought was 10 out of 10.
Yeah.
Because...
Oh, yeah.
Because now it's like, you weren't honest with me. Especially, obviously, we have no idea what happened in the fantasy suites. We can only gather. But it was like, no, at this point, you strung me along.
Well, yeah, and she said, you led me on, and he was like, yeah.
And then I love how, what did he say? He's like, well, I was fighting for us.
Yeah, he said I needed this time to know we weren't going to work out, which I do. Personally, I do get it, but I still think to that, not to say that she should have fought through it and fought for him. I don't think she should have. But I just even felt in that conversation, I was like, dude, you are in denial about your own feelings for this girl. That's how I felt.
I think you're right.
I felt like he just put this wall up and was like, yeah, I led you all on. And like, yeah, no. I honestly felt like he was afraid of his feelings that he had for her.
Yeah. What if they're dating now?
They definitely could be. I mean, I do feel like I can understand putting that wall up. Again, just from a human perspective, I feel like I could understand being like, nope, like, I don't think I feel that serious. I don't even know if we could date after this. And then I could see after the show him calling her up and be like, dude, I was so afraid like of how I felt. It was almost unbelievable to me, like the level of feeling. And so I was in complete denial and like, I'd really like to give this a shot. I could see that. I feel like that would be all it need to be like heal things up. You know what I mean?
Well, we'll see if he... Jason's so shy. What if all of a sudden he doesn't show up at after the final rose?
I could see him not showing up at after the final rose.
I could see him not showing up.
Or they're like
either.
together.
Or
they're like holding hands.
I hope though that he's at after the final rose and they're able to have a conversation like that. Well, because she was like, you wasted my time. The level of of absolute devastation I would feel if I was Gabby after having the Johnny situation, be like, now I'm in top 3, and now this guy who I really thought could be a thing, and Jason and I were like so good, now all of a sudden you're dropping a bomb on me the night of Fantasy Suite, bless you, where all of a sudden you're going, maybe we can hang after the show. Is like, you just wasted so much of my time.
So unreal.
You know, and when she said to him, I don't know if you were really fighting for me, I think you were just following my lead. Woo. Woo.
But at the same time, Gray brought this up, and I was like, oh my God, maybe this is a premonition. Gray said, he was like, I feel like their dynamic was really similar to Ari and Lauren, where Lauren was like always really kind of like throughout the show. Ari was having to like pull out like the
oh my God, what if they are?
They very well could be, and if they are, I'm sure it'll work out, because I think they're a good fucking match.
What if she gets engaged to Eric and then ends up breaking up, and then her and Jason are dating?
Well, I think that Eric and her journey could have just ended in flames.
Yeah, for sure.
I mean, well, actually, we're going to get to that.
Right. Well, Gabby wraps it with him in her ITMs by saying...
that was disappointing.
that was my guy. That was our guy. We loved him. And I'm like, why did this happen? And then when Gabby said, I was trying so hard to not be reckless with other people, and he was reckless with me, I was like, number 1, tears streaming down my face. Number 2, that is a tattoo or a song lyric if ever I heard one, Gabby. So intense. So intense. That was sad. It was so sad.
I do think they could work it out. Gabby, if you're single, hit him up. See what happens in the real world. Honestly, yeah. Anyway.
Well, basically it wraps where Gabby...
And then she runs back to Eric. And she told him, I was like, okay. First of all, Gray and I were like, do we think this would have happened if things hadn't ended with Jason? And Grayston and I both agreed no.
Yeah, I was very much on the fence about that. I mean, clearly in their date, you could tell how into Eric she is.
Sure.
But then you also saw on the Jason and her date during the day portion how very much into Jason she was.
I don't think I would have done anything different than her. I think I would have been running back into Eric's arms or whoever it was. Coming from that perspective of me probably would have whatever the fuck, you know what I'm saying, done the same thing. I don't know how to word that. I did feel like it was very much that wounded part, being like, I need someone to need me. It's Eric, you know? And then she ran back to him and she said, I had to write this down because I was like, what the heck? She said, you love in a very secure way to Eric.
Yeah, I was confused with that rap part.
You love it in a secure way?
What I totally get is her being like, yeah, Eric is the one who I feel the most connected with.
Also, I like how she was straight up with him. She's like, look, I mean, she told him as much, like, it didn't work out with the other guys.
Yes, I was wondering if she was going to or not.
Right. No, I appreciated her being straight up being like.
So did I.
Yeah, the other kind of fell apart with everyone else. So it's me and you, babe. Mm-hmm. But honestly, I think that's all he wanted to hear. I don't think he really gave a fuck. He's like, amazing. But yeah, like, just some of that. Like, you love in a very secure way. There's a lot of things you could say about Eric. I would not say that.
The question is this.
I guess secure in the sense that she knows that he is obsessed with her.
Yeah. Well, the way that it wrapped in the episode made it seem like, you know, no need for a rose ceremony. It's you and me at the end of this whole thing.
There's more to that story.
But clearly they have a lot that they need to work out. So
and he still needs to meet her family.
The preview of this upcoming episode looks like, where it's like, this does not look, and even if they wouldn't have had all that stuff in the preview, I was already big question mark at the end, like, okay, but there's all this stuff that kind of now just came up, and you guys are clearly super into each other, but like there's a lot of unfinished business that needs to be worked out. And all I kept thinking about was Katie and Blake.
Oh yeah.
How at the end it was just Blake. Oh, and it's still, I remember us feeling like, oh, the last episode's going to be like, you know, the final episode's going to be like so smooth and easy because it's just the two of them. And it was tough. with the family, with him meeting Aunt Lindsay. They had a lot of intense conversations together. It wasn't this whole thing. And I think it might be a similar energy. I mean, clearly from the preview, but even without the preview, it was like, there's a lot of stuff that needs to get worked out here.
Shit has gone down. Also, at the very least, even if she and Eric are together, I feel like when Jason gets up there, it's just going to be awful.
Oh my God.
The man's going to get roasted alive.
I know. He was...
And you know he's going to be just as like defensive on stage.
Well, I'm a little bit like, if he's struggles this much in front of a camera,
how's he
a
gonna do
live audience,
300 people
with the cameras and the mics, this is not going to go so well.
He should back out now while he's ahead.
He shouldn't go. It's time to dip. Send your parents in instead.
For real,
send your sister in,
and PR guy. Yeah, send your sister in.
Send your sister in, because this is going to be a rough after the final rose for you.
Yeah, do you think... Okay. But do you think she and Eric are still together?
No.
I don't think so either, but then because my gut says no, I'm like, they probably are.
You know what? I've been so wrong about so many things this season, so I'm probably wrong about this.
I know. I feel like they're not together either, but like maybe they totally are.
I think they get engaged, but I think they've broken up since.
I think they don't get engaged. I mean, look.
Oh, no, I should say this. I don't know if they get engaged.
Okay.
He said no. I'm saying I think they leave together.
Okay.
Like, I think they leave... He comes up to her little like rose altar, and she gives him the rose.
Yeah,
and they
because
leave
we
together.
see her at the rose altar. They wouldn't be doing that rose altar if because I know obviously they have conflict about
engagement.
Him not wanting to get engaged after all this.
But I don't think they get engaged. But I think they leave together. That's what I mean. But I don't think they're still together.
Also, the baller move. What if she does the rose altar thing and then just like, I can't give you this rose?
That's.
Hey, wouldn't put it past
I was
them
gonna say
this
well, because
season.
we wrap up the show with an announcement from Jesse Palmer on a WB lot that looks like it was, I don't know, an apocalyptic set, maybe an SVU
Wait,
episode.
wasn't he still in a suit though?
He's still in a suit. And they fast forward, they're like, Los Angeles, current day and age. And Jesse Palmer's just like, here's the thing.
Oh my God.
I know you all really want to see this rose ceremony, but because it was so emotional for the women, we thought we would respect them and give it a pause. And it's like, shut up.
We thought we would respect them and make it live, folks.
It's also just like, what do you mean respect them?
No, that's what I mean. Like, we're going to respect them and we're going to show the rose ceremony in front of their live reactions.
That feels much more healing and calming. Not them surrounded by their family and friends with a glass of wine curled up in their PJs, hoodie over their eyes.
Nope. Put them in a dress, throw them on stage.
Put them in a tight fucking dress.
Tight,
burning hot lights. Sparkly. The judgment of eyes all around you. Impromptu answers. Please.
Can't wait.
Can't wait.
Chat soon.
Chat soon.
Oh my.